it's time to renovate the property because they want you to increase the property's value. If you bought the property, let's just say for $50,000, and you're like, hey, can I also get $20,000 to renovate the property? And it's going to be worth $100,000 after it's renovated. Well, guess what? Now it's time to do the work. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to renovate it with the lender's money. The way these work is that you complete a portion of your renovation and you get reimbursed. So let's say that 1 week you go ahead, you do the floors. Okay, cool. Now you're going to get reimbursed because you've shown proof to the lender that, hey, I actually did the floors. And so that's what's called draws in this space. But ultimately, they'll make you whole by the time the project ends. And I always tell people, number two things, focus on properties where there's minor repairs, minor cosmetic repairs, like this photo right here. The kitchen, it's beat up, but all it's going to require is new kitchen cabinets and new countertops. This isn't a massive project. I see a lot of beginners, unfortunately, they go for these fully gut, fire damaged buildings that it's going to take 6 months, 12 months to renovate. The longer a project is going to take to renovate, the more time and more money you are going to spend. Because time is money in this business anyway.
Hey, Cindy, can I ask
Can
I ask another question?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm selfish because I'm going to Puerto Rico for 2 weeks, so we're actually looking for property. So Terrace and Longhorn, it's even in Puerto Rico as well, or is it just in like, even though Puerto Rico's America, but it's like, like America.
America. I don't know if they'll land in Puerto Rico. That's a really great question.
Okay.
Because they are a state, or are they a state?
They're a territory.
You'll get back with us on that.
What's up?
Somebody said somebody get back with us. Yeah. Okay. Well, nah. Okay.
I said that was a good response. We'll get back with you on that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, because the lender that I just showed you guys on the previous slide, right? They specifically say in all 50 states. So normally that's what I see when I see from these lenders. I don't think I've ever seen like all 50 states and Puerto Rico.
Okay.
That's been my impression of it. So I wouldn't know exactly for Puerto Rico, but definitely the states for sure. And then I saw somebody ask in the chat, does this work for commercial properties? So it works for commercial residential properties. For example, multifamily properties. This works for, like, that's why I tell you guys, I'm mostly in the commercial residential side of things now with apartment buildings. Now, do these lenders lend if you're doing offices and storage units? Not these lenders. There's other lenders for those, but not these lenders. They're mostly for residential properties because, again, they're looking at whether you can improve the property's value. And then I'm going to show you guys on the back end, they care about how much income that property is going to generate over time. Those are like their key metrics, okay? It's like 40 unit building, absolutely. So again, guys, you then use the bank's money to go ahead and renovate the property itself. When you're renovating it, we want to be fast with it, okay? And a quick tool right here for you guys is that if you end up deciding that you're going to renovate a property and you do not live in that state, right? And so now everybody's concern is always, well, how am I going to renovate a property if I don't live there? I don't know anybody. And everybody has a bad contractor story where they've been robbed and contractor never showed up. You want to keep two things in mind. Number one, you always need to pay contractors in milestones, meaning you will never pay a contractor up front. You pay them as work is being completed. So for example, let's say this kitchen. This kitchen is part of an entire house. And let's say for the entire house, they're charging 30 grand, but for the kitchen, it's 5 grand. Okay, well, why don't you start with the kitchen? Once the kitchen is renovated, I'll go ahead and I'll send you the $5,000. Very simple. And so what happens now? Now they got $5,000. They had to work a full week to do that. Now they got the $5,000, but now they want to collect the other $25,000. And so in order to do that, now they're incentivized to go back to work and keep going every single week because they want to collect that money as fast as possible. So that is how you manage those contractors and get them to do the work fairly quickly. On top of that, again, if you don't live in the same state and you're wondering, well, how would I do this? And how would I know what they renovated? Use an app like Company Cam. Company Cam is an app that you can have your contractor download. I've done this several times. You put on the app what you want them to complete. And as work is being completed, they have to geotag their location. So their phone has to physically be at your house. You can't go and download photos off Google. You can't send me screenshots. Nope, you got to be at the property. Allow the phone to specifically state your location, and then they have to take photos. And that's how you would get proof that things are being renovated at the property without you physically going and checking on it. So those are some quick tips on how you're gonna go ahead and renovate these projects. Because they are gonna take, let's just say 2 months. Normally I tell people 2 months, max 3 months is the most ideal time frame for these projects. Now, once you've gone ahead, let's say you renovated, the bank gave you the money, you're happy about it. Now you get to the part that you really want to be at, which is renting the property out, right? So because they gave you the money to buy and to renovate it, your property should now be in an ideal position to make the most amount of cash flow possible. Why? Most people, when they buy a rental, they put 20% down. They rarely have enough money left to renovate the property. And that's usually the difference between a property that's going to rent for $1,000 a month and let's say another one that rents for $1,500 a month. And so because you've renovated a property, you're going to have a higher quality of tenants coming through the door. And people always ask me the following: should I do Section 8 or should I go do regular rentals? I'll tell you, for me personally, I do regular rentals. I do not do the Section 8. Mostly because here in my market in North Carolina, Section 8, they pay about $300 less per month. So if my apartment's rent for, let's just say, $1,000 a month, the housing authority is going to pay me $700 a month. So it doesn't really make sense from a cash flow standpoint for me to take $300 less per apartment when I still did the same amount of work. And it's the same apartment. However, there are markets like your Ohio's, your Detroit's, where the regular market might say we rent for $1,000, and then Section 8 will come through and say, well, we'll pay you $1,400. I recommend always just checking what the housing authority is paying. So you go on like HUDhousing.gov. HUDhousing.gov, you go ahead, you look at your property zip code, your bedroom count, and it'll literally tell you right there how much they're paying. So compare both in order to make sure that you're getting the most amount of rent out of your property. Now, the beautiful thing about owning rentals, and I always tell people this is exactly why the wealthy buy and hold. Because you're going to get paid every single month in cash flow, right? The difference between your mortgage and the rent, that is cash flow. On top of that, your tenant's going to be paying your mortgage every single month, because every time they pay you rent, you're going to turn around and pay the bank. So what happens over time? Value of the property increases, loan balance decreases, equity increases, profit increases. So over the course of 10, 20, 30 years, let's say actually 20 years, what's happened? Your tenant paid down 70% of your loan. You didn't pay your loan down. It's not like your personal home where you're the one actually paying your mortgage balance down. And then 20 years from now, if you want to sell, you can sell it. Or you can go ahead and then refinance, pull that cash out, and go do something else. But it's capital that you have access to thanks to your tenant. So you get monthly cash flow, you get equity over time, and then on top of all that, your cash flow grows every single year. How? If you guys know, rent increases 3 to 5% every single year. If you've ever gone ahead and done a lease renewal, you're going to say, yes, I want to renew my lease. And then you're usually disappointed when you realize that they haven't done anything, but there's still an increase in rent. That's just the market, though. That is just the market. So you might start off renting your property at $1,400 a month in 2026, but next year it's going to be $1,450. And every single year it's going to go up incrementally. And so your income literally starts growing over time. And one thing I want to mention to you guys here, just because it's top of my mind, I read about it today. One of the biggest plays, especially obviously long-term, right? You guys know that rentals is great because you have your cash flow, but it's nice to know that you're building equity, which is going to attach to your net worth, right? You know that over time, the property value is going to increase and you're going to be able to extract money from it, whether it's selling it or doing a refinance. In 2020, houses were worth about $245,000 in some markets. And now they're about $423,000. The article that I read said that there's $11 billion in equity right now. People who just bought in 2020 before it boomed. So just 6 years later, 6 years, which, and honestly, if you think about it, 2020 was the pandemic. The pandemic to me feels like it was yesterday. I can't even realize that it's just been 6 years, right? Time really does fly But if you think about it, in just that, what really feels like a short time span, imagine if you could have had $150,000 in equity in a property, $200,000 of equity in a property. And then you don't have to wait 20 years, but let's say you would now you're at year 6 and you're like, you know, I kind of want to tap into that $180,000 of equity, that $200,000 of equity. And the beautiful thing about when you refinance and you extract equity out of the property, it's tax-free money. It's tax-free. So this is the last part of the strategy that I want to go over with you guys. So remember, if you buy with an asset-based lender, you use your Turnus, your Longhorn, whoever you want to use. Then you're gonna let you renovate with their money. They're gonna give you the funds to do so. Then you rent out your property so you can collect monthly cash flow. And because you now renovated the property, what happens when you renovate a property? The value of that property increases, right? It's worth significantly more now that it looks nicer, that people would be willing to buy it at a certain price. So once you've renovated the property, you do the refinance. A refinance is now you're gonna get a new loan based off the property's current value. And the beautiful thing about these loans is that these are also asset-based lenders. And so you get these loans not based off your income, your credit, you get these loans based off the property's value and whether the property generates enough income every single month to pay itself. So basically, does your property break even every single month? Which should be, I mean, I always said that that's the bare minimum of a rental, but your rental should be generating money every single month, right? So you're not gonna have an issue with, oh, does my property generate enough money? Your property should be generating enough money every single month to pay the mortgage and to pay you. So if you're in that position, you're gonna be fine for your refinance. Now, when you go ahead and you refinance based off the property's new value, those lenders are gonna give you 75% of the property's new value, that after repair value that we talked about earlier. Now, if you remembered, the asset-based lender that gave you the money to buy and to renovate their property, they gave you 70% of the after repair value. They gave you 70%. So you owe 70% of the after repair value to that asset-based lender. And now this new lender, when you went to refinance, is giving you 75%. So you have a higher loan amount right here. This higher loan amount is going to pay back what you owe the asset-based lender for the money towards buying the property and for the money towards renovating it. And now you're left with the higher loan amount that, again, your tenant's rent is going to go ahead and cover that every single month and pay you. And there's always a little bit of extra. There's that 5% left in that equation that you get to keep yourself. That's what's called the cash out refinance. So I know the refinance is sometimes confusing to people, guys. So let me know if you guys had any questions about what I've gone through. Oh man, you guys have a lot of questions. All right, let me attack these while we're here. All right, Steve. So yes, with regards to the renovation, right? The renovation is in draws. And so when you go ahead and you start your project, let's say in order to start a project, it's going to cost you $5,000 because your contractor is going to go to work. And the first thing he's going to do, let's just say, is he's going to paint the outside of the house. And so to paint the outside of the house, he's like, hey, it's going to be $5,000. Okay, cool. He goes ahead, he paints the house. You dish out $5,000, you pay him. And then 2 to 3 days later, your lender reimburses you. Because yes, you have to show that the house has been painted. All right, you got to show proof of the work being completed. So you would need the $5K to start the project. Do you have a lender for like strip malls? Kurt, I do not. Michelle, yes, this works for short-term rentals as well. So you can buy a property that you're going to designate as an Airbnb. The only thing is, and I just want you to make sure of this, when you go to refinance, you're going to use what's called a DSCR lender, debt service coverage lender. And a lot of them, I would say probably about 70% do not do short-term rentals. There are a few, and I have one in my mind that I just can't, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember who it is, but I'm sure you can just look up specifically short-term rentals, DSCR loans.
Can I actually chime in about the Airbnb as well?
Yep.
Yeah. So also from a tax standpoint, you know, we always like to kind of make sure that we don't pay taxes. Like an Airbnb is like the meta when it comes to taxes because you have what you call active participation in real estate and also material participation. And material or passive participation is like long term, like a long term renter really not actively working. We're just getting paid on a month-to-month standpoint. Where Verbos and Airbnbs, they actually, from a tax code standpoint, they're looked at as actually active participation because you have a person that's there for less than 7 days. You're hiring a cleaning company. Now, of course, you can have somebody else do it, but it's being actively managed. So since it's being actively managed, any losses that you have, so if you do that cost segregation study that we talked about, Ms. Hamilton, or others, if you have active losses, you're able to write those losses off not towards your business income with your properties, but also to your W-2 income if you're working, or to your pension if you have one, or your Social Security. It counts towards your active income. So from a tax standpoint, we always recommend, after you kind of get serious about real estate, just having one Airbnb, because that loss that you have can actually decrease your active income tax liability.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Another strategy that I did when I was a lawyer at the time, I forgot what the exact tax rule is, but essentially is if you manage your own properties and you're considered a real estate professional, I think it was like 15 hours a month was the qualification. You would be considered active in real estate. There were certain deductibles you could have based off of that. And at the time, I still to this day I manage my own properties, so it was it's pretty easy to show that, get some tax benefits from that aspect when I was still a lawyer. So you guys can look into that. It's like the real estate professional.
Yeah, yeah, it's real estate professional. And for clients as well, we recommend if we have a spouse that's in like a homemaker, or you retired your spouse, if he or she gets their MLS, as long as they're doing 750 hours a year, then it counts as that, which is 62 weeks, 62 hours in a month, which is basically 15 a week. But that can be property management. So like to your point, like if you have rental properties and your own property management company, which is also a tax deduction that we talk about, it's a way for you or your spouse to basically manage that property and then or other properties, and that allows us to also have that as we're active. And then again, all your losses from a real estate standpoint goes towards your active income. So you making all the money in DC as an attorney, it probably helped you dramatically with your taxes, I would imagine, Sydney.
Oh yeah, the second year helped a lot. My first year I was a lawyer. I got hit pretty hard, and then my second year, which was my last year, ended up getting a refund check, which was insane. But it was because the nice thing with, I think, buying with asset-based lenders is that if you guys remember, right, the lenders are going to give you 100% of the money to renovate, but you get to write off those renovation costs. And so, for example, last year I think we spent call it $700,000 renovating properties. Now the bank gave us the money, but we were still able to write it off as, yeah, we bought these properties for cheap, but we also spent a lot of money renovating them, even though it wasn't money out of our own pockets.
Wow. And so, and you go back like the last year you been a attorney. I mean, I'm not trying to check your pockets, but like get approximately how much you making as a lawyer? Because I just want people to understand, like with real estate, if you use the tax code properly, like you can literally have the IRS help you fund your dreams. So like approximately how much was you making that last year as a lawyer?
So my salary was like 230.
So you made $230,000 and you got a refund.
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
remember for like 25 grand.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. Which was insane because I think I was making 230, right? But really my taxes were like after I paid my taxes, I was really only netting like 170, right? I was paying like 60, 70K a year the first year in taxes. And then my second year, because I had bought all these properties and I was writing off my renovation costs, I ended up getting a check back for 25K.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
The
power of real estate and really just like at this point, you're not only making money off the bank's money, but you're having tax advantages just because you're borrowing the bank's money, essentially.
Yeah. So
there's nothing you have to actually do in order to get those benefits besides being active in the space. So Raina, you asked, this is hard money, right? So hard money is asset-based lender. It's used interchangeably most times. As far as points, it really depends on the lender. I always tell people this. There's over thousands of lenders in the United States of America. I will speak on behalf of like the 10 that I really interact with. And I'll say that majority of them, their points are going to be anywhere from 2 to 3 points. And interest rate, you're looking anywhere from 9 to 12% interest rate for that loan. So again, though, the reason why I tell you guys you have to renovate quickly is because these loans, yes, you have a higher interest rate, but the goal is to buy, renovate the property, rent it out, and as soon as you rent it out, you go ahead and you refinance. So you don't want to refinance 2, 3, 4 years down the road. You want to refinance 4, 5, 6 months down the road. It's a quick turnaround. But the larger your rehab, it's going to be impossible to do that 3, 4, 5 months later, right? If your rehab takes you 6 months, you can't refinance at month 4. Because in order to refinance, the property's value has to have increased, which means that your renovations must be complete. And so that's why I urge you guys, if you're doing renovations, let them be cosmetic, where it takes you 6 weeks, 2 months, at most 3 months to actually do a project. Yeah, MJ. So the lenders that I mentioned, they work in Texas as well. Omer, you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm Cindy West on Instagram _. So pretty easy to find me.
Yeah, my moderators actually drop her IG in the chat if y'all have not done that already, and actually spam the chat with all her information too.
No worries. So Kenya, great question. In order to refinance, you have to have a good credit score, correct? No, you don't. So a good credit score can help you, yes. But essentially, if you have equity in the property, you own it, further refinance, it's going to be based off the value of the property, the income, and how much she'll give you for the refinance. Your credit score plays a role in that. So what happens is that the loan to value will start coming down if you have a terrible credit score. Let's say you have a 400 credit score, right? A lender might say, hey, look, we'll refinance, but we'll give you 60% LTV, right? Loan to value, essentially. So the credit is definitely going to help as far as getting a higher loan to value. So sometimes, for instance, I will do a refinance at 80% loan to value. Like, I want a bigger loan amount because I want to get more money out of my property. But in order to get an 80% loan to value, you got to have a 720 credit score, right? Now, if you don't have that, then you're at 75%. If you don't have that, you're at 70%. So that's why what I really teach people is buy at 70%. And if you don't have the credit score at the moment, the goal is that while you are buying the property and you're renovating it, you can be increasing your credit score, or you can just go ahead and sell the property when you're done flipping it. This is the same exact strategy. People, they use either to fix and flip, or what I call this is fix to rent, right? So at the end of my renovations, I don't sell it, I keep it. People who are flipping houses, they're using the same exact lenders, the same exact process. And so I have students that are like, I got a 500 credit score, and they're like, I don't really want to do credit repair right now. I just want to buy a property this way, rehab it, and I want to sell it and make $50,000. Okay, cool. Right? Because I always tell people, you flip when you want to amplify your capital, and you keep it as a rental when you have a long-term play. And you're in a position, obviously, to keep that property and so forth.
But you guys remember, though, Uncle Sam will get the knocking on your door because, of course, if you do a flip, it's typically short-term capital gains. And y'all know how I feel, So Cindy, you may or may not know, but I say never sell, never, ever, ever sell.
Never sell.
Let's hold that thing. Let's not pay Uncle Sam because, like, if you do the numbers, like if you compare apples to apples, you're actually losing money. You're losing money that 1 year, but then 5, 10 years from now, you're really losing money from an appreciation standpoint, a cash flow standpoint, and then all the tax deductions that you have to recapture. So again, the cost segregation study, some of the depreciation that you got to recapture if you even did it when you first bought the property. Like just financially speaking, it really kind of makes no sense. Now, of course, if you're in a bind, you have to, then that's different. You can always 1031 exchange, but just comparing apples to apples, like flipping, it just doesn't make any financial sense. That's just me. That's just your favorite certified financial planner speaking. But what do I know? What do I know?
So, I do agree. Especially, guys, I'm going to show you this, right? So you can see what refinance numbers can look like. So this is a deal. And actually, I'm going to give you guys 2 examples because we just finished up one with my brother. But this is a deal that my student did, Mike, right? He bought it, renovated it, lender given the money to do so, increase the property's value. So I want to show you this because when I showed you the refinance, and I always give this example of, if it was $100,000, and so people are like, cool, $100,000, and then you owe $70,000, the lender's going to give you $75,000, and you're like, I just made $5,000. It's not a big deal. But this is how it really looks like when you start doing bigger numbers, right? So once the property was renovated and it had increased in value and it was worth $220,000, he got a new loan for $165,000. And so that new loan, first paid off what he owed the asset-based lender, right? He owed them money for buying the property and for renovating it. And then he was left with $45,000 of equity that he was able to just take back, cash at closing, tax free, and now he's walking away with 45 grand. And so, to Mario said earlier, right? Sometimes you can go and flip a house for $45,000, yes, but you're going to pay 30% taxes on that. Now, imagine you would extract $45,000 out of a property and you don't have to pay taxes off of it. And the even better part is you still own the asset, and the asset still pays you every single month. So that's really the power of it. I mean, my brother and I, we did a deal, I want to say earlier this year, where we bought a 10-unit building for $370,000. Renovations were about 250 grand. The lender gave us all the money to do the project. And then once it was renovated, it was worth about $1.2 million. And so when we went to refinance, we got a loan for about 770 grand. We owed about 620. We got money back at closing, 150 grand for 7 months of work. And we still own the property, and the property, it collects about 11,000, 12,000 in income every month, and it pays us about 4 grand a month, 5 grand a month.
Wait. Hold on, Sydney. Hold on. First off, amazing. Second off, where did you find an apartment building for $300,000 at?
Here in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a great market. Like, this is exactly why. Obviously, I was a lawyer in DC, and then I moved down here within a year. I was like, I got to be down there.
Is it any other market? I mean, because I know Charlotte is a hot market right now. I went to Charlotte 2 years ago for Family Union, and I saw like all the building. I was like, man, it's like a gold mine. So, any other markets you think that's growing, that kind of has like because I know Charlotte also has an affluent side where it's people with money as well, which is great. Like, any other areas here in America that you think is like a Charlotte right now, or maybe 5 years before Charlotte is where today, where a person can maybe tune into?
Yeah, so I like, obviously, I think the Midwest is strong. Indiana in particular is where I like seeing people at. So Indiana has obviously Indianapolis, but you have smaller towns like Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you're gonna have a lot of job growth, economical growth, and people moving there. So Indiana, I like, obviously you have your Ohio's. I think, not your Ohio's, but Ohio, which there's some deals, but it is still fair. It's still becoming saturated as every day goes by. I would say I like South Carolina. South Carolina is pretty cheap. I think it's like
Hey, coming back in
it's at
2
least
hours,
top
okay?
5 in states that people are moving to. So a lot of people are moving to South Carolina. You just have to be careful
Thank
with
you.
property taxes there because they're not that friendly. But if you know how to maneuver with it, you'll be good to go. So South Carolina, you have Charleston, you have your Columbia, you have Greenville, a lot of booming markets there. And then if I had to add another one, Missouri is a good one. They're pretty cheap over there still. So biggest thing, guys, when I always look at what markets to invest in, I always go to a website called worldpopulationreview.com. And on that website, you can put in any city and it'll show you how the population is trending. Obviously, you want to invest in areas that not only are cheap, but areas that are growing in population. So once you can confirm, okay, it's growing in population, people are actually moving there, my next step is to look at what kind of job growth, economic growth the city is having. And you can literally just look at, I want to say it's usually called like community plan. I know it because here in Charlotte we have one, but essentially if you just look up the local city that you're looking to invest in, and if you type in like community plan or development plan, every city is usually guided by some form of plan that has the development that they intend to do over the next 10, 20 years. And so it might be a little bit boring, I'll tell you that right now, because they're always like 50 pages, but it'll tell you what the city is doing. It's going to tell you the investments they've already received. It'll tell you what jobs they intend to have, what factories they're going to be building. And so for me personally, when I started investing out of DC, I invested in a town called Hickory, North Carolina, about an hour and a half from Charlotte. Never had heard of it before, but my realtor put it on my radar. When I started looking into it, I saw that Microsoft had done a $1 billion investment into it. And I was like, this little town, like with 30,000 people, why would Amazon be putting $1 billion into it? But then I saw that they were going to be putting data centers there. They had a huge university that was actually pretty good. They had a lot of people moving away from Charlotte and they were seeing the growth. And so that's just a quick way for you to educate yourself, really. I mean, if you think about it, 50 pages at the end of the day to get background information on a market that you're going to invest in and you're actually going to take out loans. I think, at the minimum, it is worth your time, but that will give you more information on a market than any Instagram reel will, right? Any shortcut answer, because the best cities, I'll tell you right now, are not the major ones. They're not the popular ones. So for example, I live in Charlotte, but I buy some houses in Charlotte. Let me say that. Majority of my portfolio is not in Charlotte. It's about an hour away. And it's in towns and cities that if I told you the name, you would be like, well, where the heck is that? You've never heard of them because they're not mainstream. But the ones that aren't mainstream that they're going to grow. The cities are going to be investing money. They have companies investing money in there. They see that new construction, your Toll Homes, your Ryan Homes, they're buying land. And even though that's a big one, like I always tell people, look at where the builders are buying land because it's easy for you to see when homes are going up, right? When you see the 100 homes being built, you're like, oh yeah, this area is booming. But what about 5 years ago when they just bought the land? That's really where you get ahead when you're able to see, oh, they just sold 100 acres. Why are you buying 100 acres in the middle of nowhere? What do you see? And obviously those companies, those builders are putting way more time and money into researching than obviously, we would. So those are just things to know. I always like looking at, who's buying large tracts of land, especially the big builders. Because if they're buying large tracts of land in certain parts, it's usually for a reason.
Can I ask another question, Sydney?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So two things. Number one, with the worldpopulationview.com, I know it's because I have a client that actually showed this to me like a month and a half ago because he was looking at buying something in Ocala. He was like, oh, but Ocala's growing. They got all the horses down there, and like we actually put like the report into Claude, and Claude like spit like a one pager. So definitely, if you guys want to use AI, you can definitely do this with Claude. Number two, when you go back to the lenders, because I know sometimes lenders want to kind of see like your business plan. So do you use Chart ARV? And if you do, can you kind of explain how that works and how they can use that to their advantage?
Use which one? I'm sorry?
A Chat ARV, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say, and just to touch up on what you said about like sometimes lenders will ask for your business plan. So with these like asset-based lenders, they don't so much care about your LLC or your plan, right? So they don't look at like I know people always ask me about like NAS6 code and Duns and Bradley, all these things. And guys, I've been doing this for 3 years. I don't have any of those, codes, and I'm not registered. I don't have business credit. So I say that all to say, right? Should I? Probably. But I say that to say that you don't need those things in order to look bankable in terms of your LLC to a lender. All they're going to care about is the value of the property itself. And so to what Mario is saying, right, which is Chat ARV, that is a tool that you can utilize where you can essentially quickly see the value of a property and then determine, am I actually buying it at the 70% rule? So it's a nice AI tool. You put in a property address and it'll say, okay, we're pulling data from Zillow. We're looking at what has sold over the last 6, 9, 12 months, properties that are similar to the one you're looking to buy. And here's what we think the after repair value is going to be. And that way you can get that number fairly quickly. And that's the same number that your lender's going to want, right? I always tell you, like, the deal always hinges on that one number for the most part.
Awesome.
I'm in the class.
Oh,
I'm in a webinar.
oh boy, you need to mute yourself too. My mom, can you please mute Diane? Thank you, Diane, for letting everybody know you're in a webinar, though. Thank you, Diane. We appreciate that. What other questions you guys have? Are you still going through your slides though? I'm sorry, my bad.
No, that was about it.
Okay, all right. So let's do this then. So like, if you guys have questions, how about you guys raise your hands, and if you guys could turn your camera on because Sydney, she's famous like in real life, not on Instagram, but she is growing her Instagram. So definitely we get some content so she can answer your questions in real life, and she can get the content. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can definitely raise your hand, and we can take some questions because I ask questions all day, but it's not about me. Mr. Ramirez, okay, cool. Can you have it? Okay, cool, Miss Ramirez. So if you have your camera on as well, Miss Ramirez, so she can get some content. All right. And we could unmute Miss Ramirez, my mods, and you can ask your question.
Yes, hi. I'm in the car. I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah.
Great presentation. I have a question. Have you done anything in California?
No, I haven't done anything in California. Part of it is just it's not my market, but what I would say, knowing what I know about California, is just make sure that the numbers work. Because what I've noticed is that in markets where the price of the homes is substantially higher, let's say over $600,000, the rent usually isn't actually enough to cover that monthly mortgage payment, right? So once you get to like $700,000 homes, $800,000 homes, it's like, are you really going to collect $10,000, $11,000 in rent from that one home? So
Most likely, no. Yeah, and yes, it's very expensive around here.
yeah, that's the thing with California.
Yes, thank you. And any other state that you would recommend just for startups?
I mean, if you're in California, you have Texas right there. Texas is really good. You have the Fort Worth market. You have Houston as well. And then I would say I would just tread along the southeast. To be honest, that's going to be your best bet.
A lot cheaper than
So-
California.
What's up?
A lot cheaper than California down here in the South, for sure.
Yeah. So the southeast is where it's at. Someone asked Florida. You can do Florida. There's definitely lenders that have an appetite for Florida. Especially like what was Mauro saying about Ocala is Ocala is a popular one, right? Because it's like the headquarters for equestrian, super popular for horses and things like that. So you can be in really good Florida markets. That's not by the water, and that's usually what I recommend because flood insurance is going to kill you if you're buying homes on the water. And that's from like I'm a Floridian. I lived in Florida until I was like 27 years old. So I moved really out of Florida to DC and lived in DC for 6 months, but lived there all my whole life. And I can tell you flood insurance is killer.
Yeah. Well, you was in you was Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah, I'm from Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Awesome, cool. They had the World Cup in Charlotte? They had the World Cup in Charlotte?
No, they have it in Miami. So they have a
okay.
game this Saturday. And actually my country's playing, Colombia's playing. So Colombia's playing in Miami this Saturday, which is crazy.
Are you gonna go down there?
I don't know. I was looking at the tickets last night. It seems very reckless to do, but I guess like a once in a lifetime, honestly, though. It kind of is one of those, so we'll see. But Howard is telling me to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can afford it, and you can afford it.
We'll see.
Do some content. It'll be a tax deduction. You're okay.
Might as well.
Yeah. All right. So Kurt, you're up next. Kurt, Crypto Daddy from Atlanta.
Hey, how you doing? Cindy, thank you so much. Real powerful information. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask a question. Like I'm here in the Georgia market, and I wanted to for your strategy, what's the best like price point to be looking in for a property to make it make sense with this strategy that you have?
So I would say like under $200,000, I think would be best in Georgia. I would say stay out of Atlanta for the most part, just because what I've seen at least the last few months is that, how do I say this? Like the strategy is great because obviously you're not like you're doing it with your LLC, right? But what happens or what has happened in Atlanta specifically is that people took loans out to buy these properties, right? They got the money to buy, then they went ahead and they were going to renovate it, and then they left the project high and dry. And so if you look in Atlanta, there's a lot of middle of renovation projects. There's projects that have just been completely abandoned, right? Because people say, well, if I buy my LLC, I'm just walk away. And so what has happened now in Atlanta is that a lot of lenders, because it's happened over the last 6 months, year, lenders are like, we're not going to give you guys money if you're going to take the money and you're going to just abandon the project. And so in Atlanta specifically, I'm seeing that a lot of lenders are like, we're not investing in Atlanta at the moment. We're not going to do loans out there, which is opposite of what I would usually say. I would usually tell people like, hey, Atlanta's a good market. But because lenders are pulling back on it, I would say do anything outside of Atlanta. And I'm sure you can definitely find the houses under like 200 grand that's going to be not super rural, right? But still in an area that has the job, the economic growth.
Okay, understandable. I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. And next we have Denise from Cincinnati, my hometown.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you so much, Cindy, for your great information. I'm here in Houston now, and there's a lot of signs for land for sale around the suburb areas of Houston. And also for those areas, and also for like Indiana, Ohio. What do you have a list of contractors that you use that we can draw from, or do we have to find our own?
Yeah, in those specific states you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, in those specific states, I would say the best way is always going to be through referrals. So referrals through your personal network, or you can just connect with other investors. So I would say one of the best ways is like joining Facebook groups for real estate investors and asking them for, who they're using as contractors, because usually as investors, we all have the same desires, you could say, which is I want really good work for a really cheap price. So it's always best to just like also really leverage people that are already out there and already have those relationships.
Or
That'd be the best way.
a friend of mine also does home inspection, so he would probably know as well.
Yeah, home inspections, realtors, they should usually know contractors as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay,
what I'm trying to do.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Awesome. Next we have Cynthia. Cynthia, where you from? Oh, you got us on mute.
How do I do that? Can you hear me?
Now we can't see you.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where you from, Cynthia?
I'm originally from Ecuador, but I've been in Charlotte, North Carolina for over 20 years.
Okay. Oh, y'all neighbors
So,
then. Neighbors.
Yes, and thank you, Mario, and thank you, Cindy, for all the time and info. You guys are awesome. And let's go, Colombia.
I know.
Yes, winners.
Cool,
That was
man.
a pretty interesting game yesterday.
It was.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, one goal.
I love it.
Yes.
Great stuff.
I have a question. What websites, I'm pretty new at these. I've been interested, so all this info is just great. Thank you. But what websites do you look for when you're looking for a deal? Like, where do you start? Because I
Yeah.
know I go on Zillow, but that's pretty standard. So I'm wondering if you have any other.
Yeah, Zillow is a good one. I still think it is. I would say, and I don't know if Zillow does this, but Redfin and Zillow, you can go on Redfin, and if you're gonna look for properties that are on market and you're trying to find them and buy them at a discount, the easiest thing that you could do is just throw on them. It's a filter, which if you just go on Redfin, you type in the city, state, towards the far right, you can have a filter and you can put it in more than 90 days. So basically, properties that have been listed for more than 90 days. Those are the properties that you would want to be targeting that are on market, because the truth is that if somebody just listed their house today for sale and then tomorrow you come at them and you're like, hey, I want $80,000 off, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. But if they've had that property on the market now for 3-4 months and now they want the money really, really badly, then it makes sense for you to go in and offer them a little bit less. And then also with looking at properties that have been on the market for more than 90 days, those are usually properties that are going to fit more of your bucket. They property that needs to be fixed up, because the properties that sell the fastest on the market are obviously the nicest ones, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, for the most part, wants to buy a nice house that has been renovated that they don't have to touch. Rarely people are like, some of us in this room, we're like, we want a beat up house that we can, renovate with $50,000.
Beat up, but not that beat up.
Yeah, but usually those are usually houses that are sitting on the market a little bit longer because most people don't want to touch them.
Like when you see a house and you flip in the pictures, you look at the kitchen. If it's outdated, that's a good buy.
Yeah. Always has to
Something
be
like that.
outdated. Always has to be outdated.
Yeah. The older looking house with the all paper walls and everything, those are the best then.
Those are the best ones, yeah, because you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
can take off this, wallpaper. I can just paint. I can take off, this nasty. I see the nasty carpet in the room, some green carpet, red carpet, and you start thinking,
Yes.
I got to remove that carpet. And those are, at the end of the day, those are still like cosmetic repairs, right? It's not. I'm not telling you guys go for like structural changes, but those things like wallpaper, you see, you guys know about the red carpet, wood paneling inside, the kitchen area and the brown cabinets and the plastic countertops. Those are the ones you want to go for because those you can just renovate them pretty quickly.
And when you rent your properties, do you use like a management company or just list them yourself? Because I'm always a little bit like, always thinking like, okay, if I have my house, I personally have like 2 houses that I've had a hard time renting. I don't know if it's like I've had attachment to the houses, but I'm thinking like it's not so easy to rent out. What if I have a renter that comes and like destroys everything?
So I'll tell you this. I'm a little bit delusional because I still manage my properties. So
Yeah.
I rent all my stuff out and I control that process. Now, what I would say is if you want to hire a property manager, given that it sounds like you've already had some properties already that you've rented out, at least you know how to manage a property manager. So I would probably go that route. My issue sometimes with people is that if you're a beginner, you've never rented a property out,
Yeah.
how are you going to hire a property manager and know what they're
Exactly,
supposed
because
to
there's
do?
no money for that. And like they will be making the money, the little bit of money that I want to make.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? Because they're going to eat up 10% of your income and then they're going to, they don't care how much like maintenance requests cost. So let's say that your toilet's leaking, your tenant called you, you might go and send a handyman, it'll cost you $100. They'll call a plumbing company that's going to charge you $250 and then that they're going to charge $250 and they're going to actually give a kickback to the property manager. So things like that are just things you got to keep in mind. But if you want to be hands off for you don't want the stress and the emotional aspect of it, then, I totally get that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the renting part. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next we have Monica Henderson in Are you in California right now, Monica?
Yes, I am.
In California, early in the morning.
Good morning. Hi, I apologize. I got on the call a little bit, probably like 10, 15 minutes. And I see the 2 asset-based lenders that you listed. Are you affiliated with those or those were just ones that you are currently using? Or are those just the ones you recommend?
Oh, one of them we use pretty often in our community, so that's Turnus, and then Longhorn. That's one that I've used in the past directly.
Okay. Also,
yeah, but you can just like go to their web. I don't get like a code or any benefit from you guys going on their website. Yeah, just look them up.
Sydney,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
we got to change. I'm sorry, we got to change that, Sydney. As
I
much as
know.
you promote them, as much money as you give it in, we got to get affiliate code, Sydney. We got to.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, just
Give
you
it
have the
out.
information. Just go and get after the money, and I don't really care about getting paid for it. So.
Okay. Do you use the land banks in any of the deals that you've done?
No, I don't. Just because they don't have it in my market, so I've never done it.
Okay. And the fourplex that you and your brother got for $70K, where was that at?
That was one of our students, but it was here in North Carolina, about an hour outside of Charlotte.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, cool. And I think Sandra, you had a question, Mrs. Petty. I'm sorry, Sandra Petty. Great last name, by the way.
It is, and I can be. Yeah, so I was wondering if you could do this under a trust.
So my understanding is that you can if it's and don't quote me, I think it's a revocable trust.
It is.
Stop. Okay, I was like, it's one of the trusts.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a revocable trust, and like so to make things easier, because a lot of times people put like their LLC in the trust. Like I don't recommend that. I actually recommend that you actually put your interest of that LLC. So if you have your own LLC in your schedule of assets, you would put that asset because it is an asset. But then like in your additions and restrictions part, where you kind of say who gets what and when, you would say your 100% of the LLC that you own goes towards whoever, right? Or if it's like a partnership, you own 50%, then you would say my 50% of LLC XYZ goes to whoever. So you want to just put your interest or how much you own or your ownership inside the trust from restrictions and additions part, but then like the asset by itself, you do want to put that asset in there because in your successor trustees, the ones that's making sure your well wishes happen, they need to know what assets you own, right? Because even your own family might not know all what you have. Like Sydney has 80 houses. Like does your family know every single house that you have, Sydney?
Do I have an LLC for every single one?
No, I'm saying, does your family know every single house that you have?
Does my what? Sorry.
No, does your family? So does your family, like your mother, does she know every single house that you have?
No.
Yeah. See, that's my point. Yeah. So that's why it's good to have a trust, because in your schedule of assets, every single asset that you have, you want to list that out. So for Sydney, when she has a trust, if she doesn't have one already, she would put every single house that she has in schedule of assets. So now the successor trustee or the person who kind of divvies out the money, they know all of the properties, so nothing slips through the crack. So you want to put each house in the schedule of assets, but then again, like each LLC, you want to put your ownership. You want to say who gets ownership of what.
And the way you're structuring it too, it literally allows you, because my trust is similar to that, where also any future properties that I buy within those LLCs, my interest in them, right, is automatically in the trust. So I don't have to worry about every single time I buy a property to go ahead and, I got to add it to my schedule, right? It's always like encapsulating everything that I'm owning in the moment.
So you just put it in the schedule. You don't make the trust the
owner.
The owner.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
Can you repeat this, Cindy? Please.
And one last question for Cindy.
Yeah.
What type of law do you practice?
Corporate law. So I did mergers and acquisitions.
Oh, cool beans.
Yeah. But to answer your question, so I don't deed my properties into my trust, right? So my LLCs, and I think Mario's probably saying it the same way, where like your LLCs own the properties, but then your LLC interest is what goes into the trust.
Yep. That is true. Yep. That's how it's supposed to be structured. Yep, that is true. Great question. Pamela, you was up next.
Good afternoon to everyone that's on the call. First of all, I would like to say thank you, Sydney, for a wealth of knowledge and really understanding of what you have accomplished in the years ahead and what you're going to do. I don't own any properties, so this is like mind-blowing to me. But I was thinking about in the state of Tennessee, if I purchased land is what I would like to purchase, and place like tiny homes on it. How would you recommend I would do that?
So those lenders that I mentioned, like asset-based lenders, they'll let you do fixing to rent, right? They let you do fix and flip, and they also let you do new construction. So when it comes to new construction, though, they usually pull back on leverage. So it's not 100% financing like it would be for, fix and flips and all those, but you're probably looking at anywhere from 85 to 90%. So they'll give you 85 to 90% of the cost of the land, and then they'll give you the money for the, whatever you're going to build on the land.
Awesome.
And it'll still be the same thing, right? It's not based off your income. It's not based off your credit. It's going to be based off, if this land has, eight homes that, it's going to be worth significantly more at the end of the build, then they'll give you that money.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and if I could piggyback off of that, so in that example, if you wanted to find a way to fund the other 10% per se and not come out your pocket, then that's where you use the credit card stacking, that we talk about all the time, where you take credit cards, take the money off of it, and then use the money off the credit cards and then pay the rest. So then that way you would truly not be coming out of your pocket per se. You're doing 90% from the lender and then 10% from a financial institution who issues the credit card. Yeah, great question. Jorge, you had a question?
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Cindy. It's fantastic, the knowledge. I love it. I've been in construction before, but the industrial things. And I'm really good at going to it when I manage my trust knowledge. My question is about the validation of the houses when you do it.
So You first will come up with what you think the after peer value is, right? So you'll do that analysis by, you can use like Chat ARV. You can just go on Zillow, look at what properties have sold for in that area that are similar to yours, and then you get a sense of, okay, what is this property going to be worth after it's renovated? So you first come up with your number, and then when you take it to an asset-based lender, you're in the loan, they are going to send out an appraiser, so a professional to the property to look at it, and then they're also going to look at the data as well and see what exactly it's going to be worth after it's renovated based off what similar properties in the area have sold for. So you kind of get the preliminary number of like, hey, I think it's going to be worth XYZ, 200 grand. Then they're going to send out an appraiser who that appraiser can come back and say, oh no, it's worth 210,000. Oh no, it's worth 197,000, right? They're professionals. They'll go ahead and create a report that's like 15 pages long.
Can you put in the chat, please, chat ARV? Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank y'all so much. Before we got to here, Sydney, you have to talk about your community. You have to talk about your mentorship. I mean, not a lot of people. I don't know nobody actually who bought 80 houses in 3 years with no money out their pocket. I mean, so you're like a dinosaur. You're an anomaly. So can you tell everybody about your community, how they can get in touch with you, how you've been helping your students? I know you showed the example of how your student, bought the complex. So can you kind of talk in general about like your community and how people can get in touch with you from a school part, but then also if they want you to coach them as they go through their real estate journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to go out and do this and you don't want to wait 2, 3, 4 more years of saying you're going to do this and you're like, I want to actually get into rentals. And what my community really does is we structure everything. We give you literally the exact same systems that I've used so that you can go out and buy your first property within 90 days. So most people are going out and they're buying their first deal within 30 to 45 days. Then they're going under contract and we're teaching them step by step how to find the deals. We teach you guys how to fund them. So we actually have a lender in-house. So I gave you guys 2 lenders that I've used, but we have our own lending company as well. So you don't have to worry about, am I going to get approved? Am I not? We literally cover the funding for you if you don't have money for closing costs. We also have additional gap funding that we can go ahead and get you guys secured. So you're always in a position to financially be able to buy the property. So we walk you through buying them. Obviously, walk you through how to renovate them. On our team is also my brother, who's a general contractor. We own a construction company. So again, we're giving you the same exact systems that we've used to not only renovate a few properties, but how we actually manage contractors. And obviously on the rent side, we self-manage as well. So I think we're really one of few that my coaching community really reflects the entire process, but it's a process that I literally still do to this day, right? So I buy, we're still renovating every day. We're renting them out directly. And so we have a lot of insight to then pass on to you guys so you can be successful. And so if you want to be in a room with people that are actually buying deals on a monthly basis, so most of them are buying 4 units. We had one student that bought 4 houses last week. We have another one closing on one tomorrow. Then that's going to be the room for you where you're going to have that support and you're actually going to have the real systems to go out and do it.
Amazing. So what's the goal? So I know you have 80 properties now, but like what's the goal? 1,000, 2,000?
I used to always say 500.
500.
I think it's like 500. Yeah.
500. And one more thing, because from like a mindset standpoint, like can you like tell us like what was that aha moment for you where your mindset shifted? Like, okay, I can do this. I can do this with no money out of my pocket. I'm going to start the journey, and I go from like I can do it, then I am going to do it right now. Like, can you talk about that mindset shift?
Yeah, I think for me, it was really just being a lawyer. And I'll never forget, I became a lawyer in October of 2022, and I worked Christmas Day. And I remember just thinking at that point, I have 2 options. I can either stay in the same position and complain about it, or I can actually do something about it. And the reality is that you have to fear more being in the same position you're currently in than what the unknown is. And trust me, I was working on Christmas Day. I was 27 years old. I was a woman. I had never been a contractor. I don't know anything about renovations, right? I hadn't been to Hickory, North Carolina. I didn't even know about Hickory, North Carolina, but I was like, I need to take this shot because if not, I'm going to be exactly where people around me are at. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to be working for the next 30 years. I don't want to keep waking up Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and Sunday nights dreading my Mondays. And I think there really has to be a point where you make that decision of, I don't want this. This is worse than me risking something and possibly failing. Like that was the reality, right? Because I was like, everybody, you're going to be afraid for your first deal. You're gonna be wondering, like, is this gonna work out? Am I gonna lose money? I don't know. This is scary. Is this contractor gonna run off with my money? There are risks involved. But there's a point where you realize that, you know what, I'm willing to take that risk because if I know that the upside is me learning the strategy, scaling a portfolio, being able to quit my job in 2 years, being able to become a millionaire, then let me risk it. Because the alternative to that is working this job that I hate and everybody around me doing the same exact thing, working a job that they hate.
Wow. That was powerful right there, Cindy. That was a tearjerker. y'all put some fire emojis in the chat for Cindy.
Yeah, Pamela got it. Down with fear, yes to faith. Like you gotta overcome that fear. And I always tell people this: for the most of us, information is no longer the issue. I'm sure you guys know exactly how you can go out, create generational wealth. You can go out and have financial freedom. I just happen to give you guys one more tool, but you know what you need to do. At this point, it's just you gotta go and execute on it.
Very true. Well, there's nothing else to be said. So thank you so much. My mods, spam the chat with Cindy's information again. You guys, please tap in, join her, at least join her. That's the least you can do is join her school community. But I would say you need to tap her in from mentorship standpoint. As you guys know, I'm blessed to know a lot of people. We're in the same mentorship group. So I know she talks the talk, but she also walks the walk. So thank you so much. Before we got to here, though, you know, I always like to lead us out in prayer so we can all close our eyes and bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for your love. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for being our lives. Thank you for allowing us to be healthy. May you continue to bless Sydney. May you bless her on her path. May you bless her students. May you bless her community. And may you bless her so she can continue to help people have generational wealth through real estate. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you for all your love and blessings you bestow upon us. Amen. Well, I wish I had some church in here. After that motivational speaking this game, man, I got a couple tears dropping, Sydney. Man.
You killing me.
Cool, awesome. Well, you guys be blessed again tonight at 7. My mind's put in the chat. I'm going to do a webinar about the recent change that President Trump did and how that's going to affect real estate and us having passive income. So I'll talk about that more in detail. But you guys, please tap in with Sydney. And again, Sydney, thank you for your time. We greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Cool. All right. Y'all be blessed. Peace.